Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and I read a whopping 14 books this month, putting me right on track again with my goal of reading 120 books this year. So I already talked about 5 of those books in my wrap-up part 1, and then I also talked about 4 more of those books in my Diversathon wrap-up that took place like right after I filmed that. So in this wrap up, I'm only going to talk about the last 5 books that I read in September. So Vanessa and I finally finished our buddy read of Anna Karenina, and I'm still not quite sure how I feel about this book because it is pretty good, but for the most part, there is a lot of other stuff that nobody cares about going on in it. Like there are like 15 pages of peasants mowing farmland, and then there's a really long, there are like pages and pages of describing a painting of Jesus Christ or something. Like there's just a lot of really unnecessary details, and then the book also keeps going past the point where it really should have stopped too, so I didn't really get it. But this book is about a bunch of Russian nobility in the 1800s who, you know, get married for reasons other than love, and then, big surprise, everyone has affairs and shit. So mostly we follow 2 different couples in this book, and that is Anna, who is a married woman, and her lover, Vronsky, who is just some dude. And then the other couple that we follow is a girl named Kitty and a guy named Levin, and honestly, I was so much more invested in Levin and Kitty's love story than in Anna's. Next, I read Just Juliet by Charlotte Regan, and I have a full video review of this because this book was sent to me by Inkit Publishing in return for an honest review, and this book was super good. I found a few faults with the writing style, namely mostly the fact that we get random bits of information that are seemingly there for character development, but not really because it never comes up again. And then also there were a lot of parts where the descriptions of what characters are wearing and what their hair looked like is really long, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for that to be how we get to know characters. But other than that, I really enjoyed this book. This is about a girl named Lena who falls in love with a new girl at her school named Juliet, and also this is one of the few books that I've read that actually addresses bisexuality, because most books tend to gravitate more towards gay and lesbian and kind of forget that there's bisexual people in the world too. After I read Just Juliet, I felt the need to pick up a different book about a lesbian relationship, so I read Empress of the World by Sarah Ryan, and I did not enjoy this one as much. And this is about a girl named Nicola who goes to a summer camp thing for gifted students, and she meets this girl there who she falls in love with, and basically I didn't enjoy this book quite as much because the first half of the book had a lot more to do with the horrible things that these kids' parents do, basically. One of the kids who makes friends with Nicola at this summer camp thing basically gets a letter from his mom saying that his parents are getting divorced. And why would any parent ever drop a bomb on their kids during a summer camp thing? Like, seriously. So the first half of the book felt a lot more devoted to the horrible things that these kids' parents did. That were really unfair. And I just kind of got really tired of reading about that. I was like, well, what about the love story that's supposed to be here between these 2 chicks? But that didn't happen for a good while, and it was kind of weird. But and then also I didn't feel like we really got to know the characters very well in this. They didn't really feel as developed. I don't know why. But overall, I did still really like reading this book, and it's a super quick read. Then I buddy read Pawn of Prophecy with Giselle from her channel Giselle Bradley. I can't talk, but This is the first book in the Belgariad series, not trilogy, goodness, it's like a whole bunch of books, it's not 3. But anyway, we had a lot of fun buddy reading this because all we did was complain about it, because there is literally no plot at all until the last 50 pages of this 250-page book. Basically, the whole first 200 pages basically just give us not a lot at all, and basically just a bunch of useless information that never comes up again, a bunch of traveling, a bunch of I don't even know. So I'm still like not even really sure how to summarize this book in like one sentence or less. And last but certainly not least, probably like most, I read Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake, and this was my most anticipated new release in the latter half of the year, and I was so jealous of everyone who went to BEA and got an arc of this, because I seriously would have read that on like the plane ride home, because I was so excited to read this as soon as I even heard what it was about. So this is about 3 sisters who are triplets, and because every generation triplets are born and they have to fight to the death, and one of them becomes queen, whichever one lives. So basically, I am actually really glad that Jane from It's Jane Lindsay did a review of this before I got my copy, because she explains in her review that since this is a series, the fight to the death does not happen in this book. It probably happens in the next one, but I really had a lot of fun reading this book. It was so good, and I totally called the twist at the end. Like, seriously, I had so many suspicions of what was really going on, and then as soon as something happened, I was like, this is probably what's going on, okay. But the problem I had with this, though, is that one of the sisters, like, third of the story is dominated largely by her friend's love story, to the point where I seriously spent like this whole book wondering if her friend was actually the third sister and not her. So so that was a little bit weird. Like, there was just so much of this book devoted to like 2 side characters falling in love, and I wasn't a big fan of that. But overall, like, this book was super good. My fiance was in the room with me while I was reading like the last 100 pages of this, and I kept saying, oh my gosh, the whole time, and he was like, what? And I'm like, oh, it's this book. And but yeah, I highly recommend this book. It is super good. These are the books that I read in the latter half of September. I'm very glad that I read 14 books this month, because that catches me up on my goal. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts are, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!